I never imagined that a simple movie night could spiral into something so dangerous. Not the kind of danger you expect in thrillers, with masked figures lurking in the shadows. No, this was the kind of danger that could unravel everything. My marriage, my family, my reputation. It all started with a small, innocent yes to a neighbor's casual invitation. I should have said no, but I didn't. My husband, James, is often away for work. At first, I cried every time he left, begging him to stay, reminding him how lonely I felt without him by my side. But over time, the tears stopped. Nothing changed. And so, loneliness became part of my routine. That night, the kind of night that had become all too familiar, I found myself alone in our living room. A dinner for one, a glass of wine, and the TV flickering on in the background. My phone buzzed intermittently with his "I'll call you later" texts, but I barely glanced at them. My mind was elsewhere, restless, hungry for something more. Then came the knock at the door. I opened it, and there he was, Theo, my neighbor. Early 30s, single, the kind of man who seemed to live in his own quiet world. We'd exchanged pleasantries in passing before, borrowed sugar now and then, but never anything like this. Not once had he stood at my door, holding 2 DVDs in one hand and a bowl of popcorn in the other, that mischievous smile lighting up his face. "Movie night?" he asked, his voice low and inviting. I should have said no. I should have smiled politely, closed the door and gone back to my lonely evening. But I didn't. I was bored, restless, craving the simplest of distractions. So I said yes. Theo made himself comfortable on the couch as if he belonged there. The popcorn was warm and buttery, the smell filling the room. He even brought soda cans, cold and sweating in his hands. We picked a movie, something light, a comedy. But the film soon faded into the background. It wasn't about the movie. It was about the way his arm stretched across the couch. About the way my shoulder felt smaller when it brushed against his. It was about the way his laugh made my skin tingle, the sound vibrating through me, a soft hum that resonated deeper than it should. We talked more than we watched. Jokes, questions, and a little teasing about who would fall asleep first. Harmless, right? But then his knee brushed mine. Just once. At first, I told myself it was nothing, an accident, a slip of the leg. But then it happened again and again. This time it lingered. The room seemed warmer. Or maybe it was just me. I crossed my legs, hoping to put some distance between us. But instead, he shifted closer. Just a little. I could smell his cologne. Fresh, woodsy, different from James's scent, but just as intoxicating. The popcorn bowl sat between us, but his hand kept dipping into it, brushing against mine again and again. Each touch ignited something inside me, something dangerous, something that felt like it could burn everything to the ground. I laughed nervously, trying to brush it off, my voice a little shakier than usual. "You're going to eat all the popcorn," I said, attempting to keep the moment light. Theo's eyes lingered on me and he smiled, a small, knowing grin that made my pulse race. "Maybe I'm saving the best pieces for you." That's when I realized it wasn't just me. He was feeling it too, and I couldn't look away. Halfway into the movie, I glanced at him and froze. He wasn't looking at the screen anymore. His gaze was fixed on me, steady, dark, and full of something I couldn't name. My heart skipped a beat. My breath caught, and that's when I noticed he was hard. At first I tried to pretend I didn't see it. I turned my eyes back to the screen, but the image blurred. My heartbeat thundered in my chest, drowning out everything else. This wasn't supposed to be like this. It was supposed to be innocent. But there he was, Theo, his body betraying him, his desire for me undeniable, and worse. My body responded. My skin tingled where his knee pressed into mine. My lips parted slightly. My breath became uneven. The warmth spread through me, and I felt a pull, something I'd been too lonely to resist for far too long. He didn't move, didn't hide it, didn't even pretend to be embarrassed. Instead, he leaned closer, his voice dropping lower, rougher, almost daring me to push him away. "You okay?" he asked softly. I nodded, even though I wasn't. The truth was, I wasn't okay at all. I was teetering on the edge of something forbidden, something reckless, something I knew I couldn't come back from once I stepped into it. But I didn't move away. The room was thick with tension, the air heavy between us. I could feel every inch of my body awake, every nerve pulsing with an electric charge. Theo didn't move, didn't pull away. He stayed there, close enough that I could feel his warmth, his breath brushing against my skin. The movie played on, but it was nothing more than background noise now. Everything in that moment was focused on the space between us, on the way our bodies responded to each other. Theo's knee pressed into mine again, this time more deliberately. I told myself to move, to pull away, to tell him to stop, but I didn't. Instead, I let it stay. I let the heat from his body sink into mine. I told myself it was harmless, just a touch, just a moment. But deep down, I knew it was more than that. His hand brushed against mine again, this time not by accident. I could feel his fingers, warm and strong, linger for a fraction longer than they should have. It wasn't a mistake. He wanted it. I wanted it too, and that thought sent a shiver down my spine. "You're quiet," he murmured, his voice low and smooth. "Do you want me to leave?" His words should have been innocent, polite even, but the way he asked them, the way his eyes searched mine, made everything change. It wasn't just about the movie anymore. It wasn't even about the popcorn or the soda cans. It was about desire, about something forbidden, something neither of us should want but couldn't help feeling. I should have told him to leave. I should have told him this was a mistake, that we couldn't do this, but I didn't. "No," I whispered, my voice barely audible. "Stay." Theo's lips curved into a small smile, a smile that held something darker beneath it. Satisfaction? Triumph. He didn't say anything else. Instead, he shifted closer, his shoulder brushing mine, his hand once again finding its way to mine, fingers lightly tracing my knuckles. My pulse quickened. My heart beat faster, and the guilt, the fear, it all faded into the background. All that mattered in that moment was him, his touch, his presence. His fingers tightened around mine, and I didn't pull away. I let him hold me, let the intensity of his gaze wash over me. I should have stopped. I should have known better, but every part of me, the part that had been starved for attention, for affection, surrendered. I leaned into him, my body betraying every ounce of restraint I had left. The movie was a blur now. All that existed in the world was this couch, this man beside me, the heat that was building between us with every second. Theo's lips brushed against my ear, sending a wave of warmth through me. "You're trembling," he whispered, his voice low, husky. I tried to laugh it off. I tried to pretend I wasn't shaking with anticipation. "It's cold," I said, but we both knew it wasn't. He knew it wasn't. His thumb traced circles on my palm, slow and deliberate. My breathing became erratic, uneven. I could feel his fingers, the warmth of them against my skin, and it was like a fuse had been lit inside me. Every touch, every caress was sending me further into a state I couldn't control. His breath was warm on my neck, sending goosebumps across my skin. The moment his lips brushed against me again, soft and tentative, I couldn't stop myself. My body reacted before my mind could. My breath hitched, my fingers curling into his hand, not wanting to let go. Theo pulled back just slightly, his eyes locking with mine. There was no hesitation now, no pretense, just raw desire, unspoken, but clear in the way he looked at me. "Do you want me to stop?" he asked, his voice rough, edged with something darker. I didn't answer with words. My silence was enough. My eyes, my body, all the signs were there. I didn't want him to stop, and the moment I didn't pull away, that was all he needed. His lips crashed against mine, hard and urgent. No more tentative brushes, no more hesitation. Just the heat of his mouth on mine, demanding, claiming. I kissed him back with the same intensity, my hand sliding up to his shirt, clutching at the fabric as if holding onto something real in a world that was starting to spin out of control. Theo's hands roamed, exploring, claiming, touching every part of me. His lips moved from mine to my neck, trailing kisses along the sensitive skin there. My head fell back, a soft gasp escaping my lips. My fingers tangled in his hair. It felt like drowning, but I didn't want to be saved. I could feel the heat of his body against mine. the undeniable evidence of his desire pressing into me. His hand slid down my back, and I let out a shaky breath, my body responding to him in ways I couldn't control. I should have stopped this. I should have pulled away, but I couldn't. And when his hand slid beneath my shirt, fingertips grazing the bare skin of my waist, I let out a soft sigh. Every part of me screamed at me to stop, but all I could do was lean into him, giving in to the pull, the need. "Do you want this?" he asked, his voice low, and I knew there was no turning back now. I nodded, my body betraying every thought, every ounce of guilt I had left. And as he kissed me again, deeper this time, my mind went blank. There was only Theo. Only the warmth of his hands, the heat of his body, the taste of him on my lips. The world outside of this moment ceased to exist. All that mattered was the man sitting beside me, pulling me deeper into this forbidden world we had created. The silence that followed was thick, heavy with the weight of what had just happened. The air between us crackled, charged, as if the room itself was holding its breath. I could feel every inch of my body trembling, my heart pounding in my chest like it might burst. I was acutely aware of Theo beside me, his warmth still radiating, his presence undeniable. We hadn't said anything, not for a long time. The world outside that room had disappeared, faded into oblivion. It was just the two of us now, tangled in something that neither of us knew how to escape. Theo shifted slightly, his hand still resting on my waist. His thumb traced circles on my skin, slow, deliberate, but not enough to pull me back to reality. I didn't want to return to the world outside. I didn't want to face the guilt that would come crashing down once the fog of desire wore off. "Are you okay?" Theo's voice was low, rough, but there was a hint of concern in it, as though he was trying to find a way to make this moment okay. I couldn't look at him. I couldn't look at anyone. My mind was screaming at me, telling me to push him away, to end this before it went too far. But my body betrayed me, craving every touch, every whisper, every moment of this forbidden closeness. I didn't answer him right away. How could I? What was I supposed to say? That I was lost? That I was drowning in the same desire I had fought for so long? That my marriage, my commitment, meant nothing in the face of this? My eyes fluttered closed as I leaned into him, the warmth of his body pulling me deeper into this storm. I should have told him to leave. I should have stood up and walked away before it went any further, but I couldn't. When his lips pressed against my neck again, soft and teasing, my body melted into his touch. Unable to resist, I gasped, my fingers tightening in his shirt as if holding on to something real. I shouldn't have been here. I shouldn't have let this happen, but everything inside me screamed for him. For this raw, reckless connection that had bloomed between us in the most dangerous of ways. I turned my head slightly, catching his gaze. There was a hunger in his eyes now, dark and intense, but something else too, something that felt like he needed me just as much as I needed him. Without a word, he leaned in, his lips capturing mine again, this time more urgently, more passionately. I kissed him back with a desperation I hadn't known I had inside me, my hands roaming up his chest, gripping the back of his neck. His lips were soft, but his kiss was hungry, possessive, as if he was claiming something he had wanted for far too long. The guilt tried to creep in again, but it was quickly drowned out by the overwhelming sensation of his touch, the feeling of his body against mine, the intoxicating mix of fear and desire. I had crossed a line, and deep down, I knew it. But there was no going back. Not now. His hands moved lower, sliding beneath the hem of my shirt, and the moment his fingers brushed against my skin, I shuddered, my breath catching. My body felt alive, every nerve ending sparking, every inch of me responding to him. I pulled away for a moment, gasping for air, my chest rising and falling rapidly. My mind was foggy, the thoughts slipping away as I struggled to hold on to some semblance of control. "We can't do this," I whispered, but the words felt hollow. I didn't even believe them. Theo didn't say anything. Instead, he pulled me closer, his hands on my back, pressing me against him. His lips trailed down my jawline, his breath warm and steady against my skin. My heart raced as he kissed me again, this time with more tenderness, more care. But even in the softness of his touch, the tension never fully dissipated. It only intensified, the pull between us growing stronger, deeper. I didn't know if I was falling into something I couldn't escape, or if I was finally letting go of something I had been holding on to for far too long. When his lips found mine again, I kissed him back, this time with an urgency that matched his. My body was on fire, every touch, every caress pushing me closer to the edge. And when he shifted, moving so that he was practically on top of me, I didn't pull away. I couldn't. His hands slid down to my waist, his fingers gripping me tightly as he kissed me deeper, harder. The world outside of this room, outside of this moment, didn't matter anymore. There was only him. Only this. I knew what I was doing. I knew I was making a choice I might never be able to undo. But in that moment, with his lips on mine and his body pressed against me, I didn't care. The phone on the table buzzed again, breaking the moment, and I froze. I didn't want to look at it. I didn't want to face the reality that was waiting for me outside of this room. But I couldn't ignore it either. I reached for the phone, my hand trembling as I flipped it over to see the name flashing on the screen. James. The guilt hit me like a wave. But Theo was still there, still holding me, still kissing me, and I couldn't bring myself to stop. This was a dangerous game we were playing, and I had crossed the line. There was no going back now. The next few days passed in a blur, heavy with the weight of what had happened. The memory of that night, of Theo's touch, his kiss, the way my body had responded, lingered in every corner of my mind. I couldn't escape it. Every time I closed my eyes, I could feel his hands on me, his lips pressing against mine, the undeniable hunger in his gaze. I told myself it was just a mistake, a moment of weakness, that I had let loneliness cloud my judgment, that I had let desire take over. But deep down I knew the truth. It wasn't just about that night. It was about everything I had been missing, everything I had been craving for far too long. Theo didn't make things any easier. He didn't avoid me or pretend like nothing had happened. Instead, he seemed to be everywhere, as though he was reminding me of the line I had crossed and how impossible it was to forget. He was always there, just across the street, his presence like a constant pull, a magnetic force I couldn't ignore. Every time I saw him, I felt the weight of that night settle deeper into my chest, pressing on my heart until I thought I might suffocate. But the truth was, I didn't want to avoid him. I didn't want to forget. The guilt was there, yes. It gnawed at me, biting and tearing at the edges of my conscience. But so was the craving, the longing, the desire to feel seen, wanted, alive again. One evening, just as I was finishing up dinner, there came the knock on my door. I froze, my heart skipping a beat. I knew who it was before I even looked through the peephole. It was Theo. I hesitated for a moment, the weight of my decisions pressing down on me. But then I opened the door. He stood there, calm, collected as always, but his eyes betrayed the hunger that I had tried so hard to ignore. "We need to talk," he said, his voice low, serious. I didn't say anything. I didn't invite him in. Instead, I stepped aside, my heart hammering in my chest. He walked in without hesitation, as though he had been here 1,000 times before. The silence between us was thick, suffocating. We sat down in the living room, but neither of us spoke. The tension between us was palpable, electric. I could feel it in the air, in the way he looked at me, in the way my body responded to his presence. Finally, he broke the silence. "Do you regret it?" he asked, his voice quiet but loaded with meaning. I opened my mouth to speak, to tell him it was a mistake, that we shouldn't have done it. But the words never came. Instead, I whispered, "No." And the moment those words left my lips, it was as if a dam broke. He moved toward me with a slow, deliberate pace, his eyes never leaving mine. My breath caught in my throat as he reached for me, his fingers grazing my skin. Theo leaned in, and for a moment, I thought I might pull away. But instead, I leaned into him, my body responding before my mind could stop it. His lips brushed against mine, light and soft at first, but then deepened, becoming more urgent, more demanding. I kissed him back, my hands finding their way to his shirt, tugging him closer. The world outside, the consequences, the guilt, it all faded into the background as I gave in to the pull between us. His hands roamed over me, exploring, claiming. There was no pretense now, no pretending this was innocent. We were both in it, fully, completely, lost in the heat of the moment. I should have stopped him. I should have pulled away, but I didn't. I couldn't. Every part of me screamed at me to walk away, but the other part, the part that had been starving for affection, for touch, for something real, didn't want to. His lips trailed down my neck, sending waves of heat through my body, and when his hand slid beneath my blouse, I gasped, my body arching into him. "No," I whispered, though it wasn't a protest. It was more of a plea for him to keep going, a plea for this moment to last. And he did. His hands moved with certainty now, no longer hesitant or careful. His lips found mine again, harder, more passionate, as if he was trying to make up for all the time we had wasted fighting this connection. I was lost in him, lost in the need that had been building inside me, the desire that had been stoked by his touch. And I knew, deep down, that this was no longer a moment of weakness. This was a choice, and I was making it. Theo pulled away for a brief second, his eyes searching mine, dark with something I couldn't quite name. "Do you want this?" he asked, his voice low, filled with intensity. I didn't answer him with words. Instead, I answered him with my actions, pulling him back to me, pressing my lips to his again, deepening the kiss. There was no turning back now. I was in this, all the way. And when the kiss broke, I realized that nothing would ever be the same again. We had crossed the line. There was no going back now. Don't forget to like this video, drop your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribe for the next chapter of this forbidden journey. What will happen next? Will Sophie be able to resist the pull of temptation? Or will the consequences be too great to ignore? Stay tuned.